Okay, try to keep it real diversified here. Talk about your markets and your money and portfolios and things that I'm doing. I'll remind you, I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I play one on TV. But when I tell you what I'm doing, it should at least give you some sense that, this is what I think is good. But my goals may not be the same as yours. Things that I invest in, I'm not trying to trade them every day. I talk to you about how I'm short some stocks. I'm short. I think they're going down over the long term, and I'm looking at them every day. I don't see anything improving, so I'm not day trading them. Same thing with cryptocurrency. If you're interested in this stuff and your goals are like mine, to have a big win 20 years from now, with the understanding that the whole thing could blow up and you can get zero, you might want to take a little closer look at that, okay? Take a little closer look at, while everybody's screaming and yelling about Donald Trump not knowing about bounties on soldiers from Russia and all this other crap, and I'm going to talk about that a little later in segment 3 of hour 2. But while they're doing all this subterfuge, we got Black Lives Matter, we got Occupy City Hall, we got riots going on all over the country, and down in Washington, D.C., where all those dirty little grubbers live and operate under the radar. There was a vote yesterday that should make you want to vomit, okay? A number of Democratic representatives yesterday passed a bill, H.R. 51, that would make Washington, D.C. the 51st state. Okay, fine. No need to be a state. They could be a state, okay? And change the name of District of Columbia to Douglas Commonwealth, D.C. Okay, so Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, when you hear things like Columbia, like Columbia University, Christopher Columbus, District of Columbia, like Washington, D.C. sounds like Washington, our founding father, our first president, and District of Columbia is probably a reference to District of Columbus. Columbia is like a town for Columbus because he found the joint. So the first president and the guy that found the whole country, Washington, D.C. Now, why am I mad about this? Well, because the things that these people are talking about, these Black Lives Matter and Antifa people, are real. You want social justice? It should be there. You deserve it. You want to fight police brutality? You want to train police better for community police? You got it. We're all in agreement on that. Why are we using this opportunity to spread the message so far that you can never get to any final goals? One goal they got to yesterday, although the Senate and the House can't agree on a police reform bill, the House yesterday, in a symbolic vote, agreed or passed H.R. 51, a resolution to make Washington, D.C. a state, the 51st state, and change the name from District of Columbia to Douglas County. So, I mean, the things that are happening are crazy. But let me show you that headline. This even hits more home for me right here in New York, in a place where, yesterday our New York City Council voted to defund $1 billion. Yes, $1 billion has been defunded from our police departments, okay? And that doesn't mean their salaries are going down, but what it does mean is a whole bunch of money for resources and training and surveillance and all this other stuff for good anti-crime. They killed the anti-crime unit here in New York. There's been over 100 shootings in the last 9 days, 200% increase over the same 9 last week, okay? And there it is, in case, you think I'm just doing a JT and making stuff up like the Ritz crackers and the Lucky Charms and all that stuff. This is real, folks. And right here in Staten Island, New York, we have a freshman congressman in his first term. His name is Max Rose. I call him Mini Maxie, if that means anything to those of you at home, because that's what he is. He's a little guy. And he fought bravely for our country, and I will always respect that, and I always commend him for fighting, putting his life on the line for our freedoms and liberties. But he says one thing in the district, that he's not going to be Nancy Pelosi's pup dog, and then he goes down to Washington and votes with Nancy Pelosi 97% of the time. And one of the things that our congressman right here in New York City, in Staten Island and Brooklyn, one of the things that he voted for yesterday was to rename Washington, D.C. Okay, this is the truth. Okay, and they want to call it the Douglas Commonwealth. And all due respect to Mr. Frederick Douglass, but I don't know why we have to rename states and stuff right now in the middle of a lot more serious things. But I guess they want some small victories. But speaking of small victories, Max Rose had a small victory over Dan Donovan, who was the Republican here. And now, since he's been in office, he went down to Washington and voted, along with Nancy Pelosi, to allow illegal aliens to vote in local elections. Max Rose, our congressman, voted for illegal aliens, not to prevent illegal aliens from voting in local and municipal elections. So that's one, okay? He wants illegal aliens to be allowed to vote in our local elections. Then wrote an op-ed right here in the Staten Island Advance, terrible paper, but it's the only print media we have, wrote an op-ed saying that we cannot impeach the president, it will only divide us. And it was a really soundly written piece, and I was like, wow, okay, this guy is standing up to Pelosi. Then she tugged on his chain, he went back down to Washington, and he voted for impeachment. Now he's voting to rename Washington, D.C., and if you ask me, in this one singular, my backyard issue, this is happening across our whole country. The whole Congress, a majority of them voted yesterday to rename Washington, D.C., Douglas Commonwealth, okay, and make it a state. I don't mind it being a state, but I don't know why they have to start changing names of things. But we have someone in our crosshairs here as a target. The only time you could take out a politician is in their first term. That's when they're most vulnerable. 85% of incumbents win. Okay, so once he gets to a second term, we got problems. I had a little noshings the other night, some burgers and wings with Assemblywoman Malia Takis, and you may know her more famously as Nicole, who just won the Republican primary. She's been representing Staten Island and Brooklyn for a while now, and she's putting together some campaign against him. And I look forward to the voters of my district here in Staten Island and Brooklyn to see how she towers over him in stature and in principle. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with more Liquid Lunch right after this.